Hey guys, this is Alex with East Coast Divers. I'm going to talk to you about one of the biggest problems we can run into with a Yoke tank valve, which is a leaky Yoke tank valve O-ring. So it's pretty common actually that when you're doing a dive, especially with a bunch of other divers on a boat, you're going to look around, you're going to see at least one or two other divers that have a little whisper of air coming out of their Yoke tank valve O-ring there between the valve and your regulator, their regulator. That's pretty common. These are kind of designed in a way that is a little bit flawed where they're pretty commonly going to get leaks, small leaks pretty easily. Those little whispers don't add up to much, but as it gets worse and worse and worse and that O-ring gets a little bit more wear and tear, it is something you're going to want to replace because you risk losing a good amount of gas or having a complete blowout while underwater and losing a lot of gas. So you want to be able to change it out. Now, as long as you have an O-ring, we have a way that you can be able to get this O-ring out of here and change it out with a good one, even if you don't have a pick available to you, whether a brass or plastic pick that you'd use to get it out. So the trick that we use actually uses your regulator. So you'd go through and you attach your regulator to the valve the same way as you normally would, and you'd pressurize the cylinder. Now when you do that, typically you would hear a little bit of a leak there. If you don't hear a leak, you wiggle the regulator around a little bit, it still doesn't leak, that O-ring's probably okay. Maybe there was just a little dirt or debris when you first attached it that was causing it to leak. That's gone now, so you don't have to worry about it. I wouldn't go through and pull out an O-ring that seems to be working. But if you do have a little bit of a leak, as it's leaking down, you want to shut your tank off. And as it's leaking down, and when it approaches being an empty area inside there, that gas that's leaking out, you want to try and unscrew that regulator. What you're actually trying to do is get some of that leftover pressure to get behind the O-ring and pop it out as you go to unscrew it, some pressure still in there. Now, if the leak isn't strong enough for you to be able to get the pressure down and unscrew it, you can actually just gently purge out one of your regulators and try and unscrew it until eventually it gets to a point where you can spin that tank valve, okay, to be able to unscrew it. And you'll get a little pop of air like that. That'll happen. And when you do, you can actually see that it's popped that O-ring loose. And that's all it takes to be able to get that to happen. You can see I can just, there's our O-ring that we just popped out. At this point, you can go through, grab a new O-ring, stick it in there, press it into place. On some of the smaller ones, sometimes it's hard to get it to seat into place with your finger, so you can get it just kind of situated where you want it to be, make sure it doesn't fall out, and you can actually use your regulator as a great seating device. So you go through, you screw on your regulator to the tank valve, you screw it on as tight as you can get it, and use that to seat it in place, and then you go through and pop it back off. And that O-ring's now seated in there. Just check it, make sure it didn't get pinched or anything. So you can go now and you can screw that reg back on there the way that you normally would. You don't need too much tension. The O-ring is what holds it on there. And once you have it ready to go, you can pressurize it. There you go. New O-ring, seated, ready to work. The O-rings you would typically use in most tank valves, but not all, would be on the skinny ones. It's a 014 is the size, and then some of the thicker, bigger ones I've seen use 113s, 114s. It's best to go consult the manufacturer of your valve to figure out what's the best size O-ring and style of O-ring to put in there rather than just guess. Make sure that you're using the right materials as well for whatever that tank valve manufacturer recommends. All right. If you guys have any questions based on looking at that, anything pops up, or if you have any other questions at all on any sort of gear or anything, feel free to drop us a line. You can reach me at alex@ecdivers.com. That's the letter E, the letter C, the word divers.com. You can call us at the shop at 617-277-2216. And feel free to go through, check out some of our other Gear Fix-It videos that are floating around. And hopefully we'll see you guys soon. All right, have a good one.